Hey, everybody. Thank you for being here. And let's give another round of applause to these guys. Thank you. Yeah, it's super exciting. They flew here from Paris, especially for this, and so it's a big honor. And there's a lot to talk about. As was just mentioned, you're releasing a new album, Hyperdrama, next month. Your first in 8 years. And so I guess to start, I'm curious, was it always inevitable that there would be another Justice album?
Well, it's always until it's not. But yeah, we didn't wonder too much about it. Like those long cycles are not because we are hesitant in any way, but just because things takes time to be made. And by the time we finished our previous album cycle, it was already 2019.
Sure.
Then we took a bit of vacations. Gaspard released a solo album. Then there was a pandemic.
Right.
Then we started working on that album, and we worked on it 3.5 years, and here we are.
I'm wondering where the conversations start. Like, are you guys just in constant communication even when you're not working? And then when do things shift to say, hey, I think it's time, I have an idea?
Yeah, we always keep in touch even when we are not doing music, and just because we are friends. But there's always like a few ideas like floating around, and like for example, like it's something we wanted to do like since a long time, to create our own samples, and most of the new record is based on loops. And instead of going and crate digging for like old disco records, we took the time to make our own samples, and we always have some kind of desires and obsessions, and when it's time to put them into form in the studio, like we just start, and it happens naturally.
What were those obsessions, as you said, this time around?
I mean, we like, yeah, for example, like the creation of our own samples, and also this kind of 90s rave gabber aesthetic, which was very interesting for us in terms of sonic novelty, even if it's not new, but it's a territory where we haven't been before. And so, yeah, we just like took some elements of stuff we've always loved, because there is an energy in this kind of 90s techno aesthetic that we love, and we applied it to some kind of yeah, we just put it in some kind of disco sauce, and we wanted to have this kind of confrontation between like organic instrumental elements and very like very hard stuff, but without mixing them, but to juxtapose them in order to have this kind of on-off button between eras and genres.
And in terms of making your own samples, it sounds like an incredibly time-intensive process. Is that why this album took 3.5 years to make?
Yes, partly. It's true that for almost every song, we had like to write, produce, and record the whole human performed version of it, and then the whole electronic performed version of it too. And even if the tools are great today, if you want to do it not by the book, but like get the best out of it, you still have to go to a studio and actually perform all those things. And I guess what took us the most time was really like the finalization of the record. And we can sometimes have almost like a an unhealthy relationship to details.
Okay.
I think there are songs we made more than 200 versions of the same song because we feel that there's a good idea. And this idea can be translated in 1,000 different ways. There's going to be one that's going to stick with us as being the right one. So you have to try things until you finally put the finger on the right thing.
Well, that was my next question. When you have 200 versions of a song, how do you know?
We were good at sorting them out, and we were constantly going back and forth all those versions, especially at the moment of mixing, because the more you work on a song, the more refined it gets, sometimes against its own good. And but you know when something is right or is not, and sometimes we would be mixing the track and thinking, okay, now it sounds good in terms of sound, but it doesn't hit us the way it was hitting us when we were writing the demo. So we are going back to previous versions until we find the element that is missing, that is not here anymore. And sometimes it can be just a small detail, just a note that is hit in a different way, just a voicing of a keyboard or whatever, and we're just exhausting all possibilities.
It sounds like a mix of technical perfection and then soul, and something just has that soul element where you're like, okay, that's the one.
Yeah, it can be counterintuitive because the whole thing is that doing the less spontaneous thing possible in order to get something that was spontaneous at the beginning. But that's what it takes, and I guess that's the same thing with cinema and entertainment in general.
I'm curious with Gaspard, as you were saying, the 90s rave gabber influence. Was there a particular group, moment in your lives, event that you were trying to touch back to and bring forth in this album, or was it more just the aesthetic and the sonics in general?
It's more the energy first. It's been maybe a bit more than 10 years that we incorporate more and more of hardcore techno and gabber when we DJ. We don't DJ a lot, but it's something that we've been loving always. And we were wondering, what if we make some sort of disco music, but with those sounds? And it's fun because by traveling a bit in the hardcore universe, we actually noticed that a lot of the samples they use for stabs originally come from disco records. So hardcore techno is sped up disco to an extreme extent. And a lot of the tracks of this record, we wrote them first as hardcore techno tracks. So that's 180 BPM. And then when we had a good loop, we would pitch it down and then try to see how we could re-harmonize it and make something maybe more sensitive and melancholic, but with those sounds and it. When we found this formula, and I remember I was having COVID in Paris, so I was sweating and trying things, and then we put the finger on that and we made our first tracks like this. And we're we can do a whole album of this. And then we made a few songs and we were okay, now we need to move on. But that was enough to give not the template, because the album has a lot of diversity, but it gave us a good start.
Sure, the seed of the idea to build off of. Yeah. I was talking to Pedro Winter, your label boss and longtime collaborator, obviously, and he said that he thinks that this is your best album. What do you think about that?
Well, that's very nice of him, and it's the first time he says it, so I want to believe him.
He was very emphatic. He said it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. I think he's telling his truth. No, but that's always the same. It like, and we're not the good person to tell you, you know, every time a band says, "Yeah, I think it's my best album to date," you never believe them, so we're not gonna say it.
We just hope he's right. Yeah. You tell us.
We just hope some other people are gonna think alike.
Someone agrees?
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's all of your albums to me are masterpieces, and this one just has a different flavor, but it's on the same level as the other ones. But he also said that he thinks that this album reflects a new level of confidence in the studio. Does that feel true to you?
Yes, it might be true because we spent like an awful lot of time on this record, but there was not one single moment where we were like blocked or having like how do we say in English, like the empty page syndrome or the white page or whatever it's called. So we were just like making things for 3 years and a half. We knew we had almost unlimited time and space to make it, and we wanted to take the time. And also one of the big things that we had in mind when we started making this album, and a bit before actually, was that to try to unlearn a bit what we know as musicians and producers, and try to step into making an album with a fresh heart, not even with a fresh mind, sure. but really like I think it's like we had this intuition for a long time, but I remember like listening to Psycho Mode by Travis Scott, yeah. And that song was like a huge hit, and you have like an intro, then you have 20 seconds of Drake, then it goes on to something else, and we heard that and we're like, wow, we're still thinking about music almost like in an ancient way, in the sense that almost by reflex at some point we're making music like, okay, a song has to be like a verse, a chorus, then a shorter verse, double chorus.
Sure. You had a structure in your head.
And even if you are aware of this, it's really hard to go against things that become intuitions. So we tried like to put all of that aside and then really go into making those tracks as, okay, what do we want to hear now, even if that doesn't make sense in terms of music theory with what comes afterwards. Incognito is the song that we just released a week ago is a good example of this. You have like the intro, and then everything changes between the intro and when it actually starts, like the tempo, the instruments, like everything, you know. But this is how we felt about making things, and the same goes with the production, the mixing. It's like it's like very important sometimes to try to forget about everything. One of the last thing our friend Philippe Zdar from Cassius told us when he came to see us at the studio when we were making Woman. We called him because we were stuck on the mixing of one track, and he came to our studio and he started like to turn all the buttons like into the red. So it sounded like shit, and he told us he was like, all right, it sounds like shit now, but you understood what I was trying to do. He was saying, I know why you made those settings on the compressors and everything, but now you have to disrespect a bit all the work that you've made, because most things, they need to be destroyed and forgotten about. You have to kill your darlings in order to move forward. And that was an important lesson. We didn't keep his settings, but we understood the idea.
Sure, the message was there. Was there a moment with this album where you had to I don't know, was there a breakthrough moment where you did break those structures and you found yourself then in a new space to create something?
I think that was that COVID sweat moment.
We can thank COVID for this new album.
And the fever really helped.
Totally. It's all a fever dream, this whole project. I am wondering about Kevin Parker and getting Kevin involved in the lead single for this album, One Night, All Night. Tell me about those conversations, and I guess more generally about all of your albums have had guest vocalists, but having someone of Kevin's caliber on the album, tell me about it, how it happens.
Yeah, it's been like almost a decade, maybe more than this, that we had him in the back of our heads. We've been listening to Tame Impala forever. Also because we used to hang out with the people at Modular in Australia. That was his first label. So we got to receive the things, and we liked it at first, but then we really had like a revelation moment when, before he released Lonerism, they sent us Elephant to ask us for a remix, and we listened to the track, and we had to turn it down because we told them like the track is perfect. There's no way we can make something better. And we really understand that we really understood at this moment that he was a bit that this band would become something else, and that would become like much more what's the word? Not big, because we had no idea it would be like a stadium band, but that it would be very significant for all. Like, it's very rare when you have a band that release something and everybody likes it. Like, all our friends were like, have you listened to Elephant? Have you listened to this album?
Sure.
Like, the general audience likes it.
Yeah.
Your sister likes it, your grandmother likes it, you know. And that was like, this is what happened when he released like this album. And we were like thinking of him, but we were waiting for the right moment. And this is what happened with most of the people on this record. We've been listening to them for quite a lot of time. We were just waiting for the good occasion to arise. Okay.
Yeah, his voice works so perfectly with what you're doing. And I'm wondering if, I don't know, are there other dream collaborators? You know, you described Kevin as sort of being so perfect for what you do and being sort of so aligned. Are there other people you'd like to work with?
Yeah, there's tons of people we'd love to work with. Hopefully, tons of people we don't know yet, because we're also always like trying to look for newness, novelty. What's the word? I don't know. But yes, yeah, tons of.
Sure. Okay. Obviously, the way that albums are marketed, distributed, it's changed dramatically since 2007 when your first album came out, but it's also changed dramatically since 2016 when Woman came out. What's the plan? You know, you two don't strike me as TikTok dancing guys who are going to be across Instagram talking about your project.
Surprised.
You heard it here. Okay. Well, I mean, what do you feel like you need to be involved, invested in that realm of getting yourself out there, or is it just not something you're going to partake in?
No. We know that there are things that are not for us, and we are like very. I mean, there's two things: is that there's so much gap between each of our albums that every time we come back with a new record, we feel like we are rookies again, like we're newcomers.
Sure.
Because everything has changed in between, and for the like TikTok, as with everything else, there's no like there's no good things or bad things. There are only things that you feel naturally inclined to do, and things that you are not. We always think that we have to just do things that we feel like doing.
Sure.
And we've been lucky enough that from the beginning we can operate on a reasonably large scale without having to compromise on anything.
Sure.
so no, we don't feel that we have to do it.
Okay.
Maybe wrongfully.
Sorry?
Maybe wrongfully.
Okay.
It would certainly help a lot.
Sure.
But we are not ready to make this sacrifice in order to have like more popularity or more fame or whatever.
Sure. What's the natural inclination, as you're saying?
Being at home in underwear, sweating.
It's a lot about the sweat with this new project. But obviously, the tour is coming. It starts at Coachella. That's a really big look. You guys played your first ever live show there in 2007. Tell me about your relationship with that festival and then how impactful it is to start the project there.
Yeah, it's a great memory for us because like the Coachella people and all the Golden Voice team, they've always been big supporters. And yeah, we're just super happy to come back there and because it was a very significant like event for us because it was our very first live show in 2007. And yeah, and it went well. It was not given, so yeah, it was definitely. It's a very happy memory for us because we had just finished the first album, and then it was our very first live show, and it was just so a relief and some kind of. Okay, like we managed to make a whole album, we managed to make a live show, and it was a bit of a surprise for us because we were not sure about. We never really dreamt about being musicians, and somehow it happened, and we were great memory at Coachella.
Yeah, it's almost like a Madeleine de Proust. I don't know if does it make sense in English, Madeleine de Proust? You know Proust?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Madeleine de Proust.
Yeah.
It's like when something is tied to your mind because like it's like tied to an event. Like forever, Coachella for me it feels like maybe the week of our lives where we're like the most relaxed about everything. And since then, we've been like stressed about everything. But
2000, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
To be stressed the whole time.
Yeah, it's not good. But as Gaspard said, it's right during this week, we had made one album. We had no idea what it would do.
Sure.
We had made one live show and we're on holidays. And we've been chasing this flavor since of like being completely relaxed, thinking, oh God, we just finished this. Now we can just like calm down.
Sure. It was the moment before everything broke open
Yeah.
for you. Tell me about your strongest memories of that week and that performance.
Well, we don't remember anything, which is a good sign, generally.
There has to be
Blackout.
something. There has to be one thing. Come on.
Oh, there is something, but it's a bit shameful, for me. It's like I guess like PETA is not gonna be happy about it, but they
Well, don't say it.
Well, okay. No, it's a funny memory, but yeah, there was a rat like going through the crowd, and for some reason I thought it would be funny to kick it, and so I kicked the rat, and it flew over.
It was the most perfect moment of your life so far.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't do it today because rats are living creatures. Like, and I just thought it was some kind of rodent, like doing his life. And afterwards, like 2 little girls came to me and asked, "Why did you kill the rat?" And actually, it was a pet rat, and I felt so embarrassed. Yeah. Sorry.
That's a true story.
Yes.
Wow.
But the rat is still alive and well.
Is he? He's okay.
Yeah, he's okay.
That's a long lifespan for a rat.
No one was harmed.
Sure. In the kicking of this rat.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not expect that story to go in that direction. Thank
Me
you.
neither.
Okay, so you're playing Coachella this year. Maybe rats, maybe not. But what can we expect from this brand new live show that you're debuting there?
It's very difficult for us to give you an accurate answer. For one simple reason is that we prepare everything and we work on the live show in a closed environment. So we can only imagine how it's going to translate with people, which is like the basic of a live show. So we have no idea. We have ourselves expectations, and we don't know if they're going to be met or not. So to tell you what to expect is like one degree too far.
How does it feel for you when you're standing in it, practicing? Going through the show, like what feeling does it give you?
Same thing. It's tricky because a big part of preparing the live show is almost like I'm trying to find the right word. We almost feel like we're scientists making something. Because there are so many layers of techniques, preparation, even the music, like how do you translate a record that hasn't been made to work with an audience or to be like efficient at a festival into something else? So you're just taking like all these elements, you're transforming the music, then you have to rationalize the music so you can perform it, which is very complicated when you are like only two people and there's like so many things running. Then you have like to think about how to streamline this and make it work with a visual environment in a good balance. Then you have to make all the instruments, everything work together. It's like we spent weeks just working on the way the machines communicate, on building like custom instruments. Like everything we have on stage is custom made. So there's like not even weeks, there's months of encoding, debugging everything, rehearsing. So at the end it's like all very abstract until the moment it becomes real.
Sure. Okay. All three of your albums have gotten a follow-up live album.
Yes.
The last one won the Grammy for Dance Electronic Album of the Year, Woman Worldwide. Is that the plan or something that we can expect with this new one?
I love this Mike Tyson quote. That's everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Just reminds me of that rat getting kicked.
We move without a plan at all, and we do things if we feel they are somewhat not even relevant, but somewhat pleasant, or if we feel that it can be of any interest, even if it's just for a small fringe of people, because like releasing live albums is almost like it's a pre-planned commercial failure, and it has no other interest for us than to make a document about a time period.
Sure.
This is what we've been trying to do.
Sure.
We know that we're not gonna sell a lot of them, so it's really like for the fans, for the people who want to have like a printed document of what they could maybe have seen or not. So we'll see if it's good. Sure. If we feel it's interesting, then maybe, but we don't think about it for the moment.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the visual aesthetic of the album so far. Obviously, we've seen the cover, and it's this kind of human hybrid, physical, biological take on your classic cross symbol. Tell us the inspiration there and sort of where you're going with that direction.
We started working on the artwork in 2020, I think, or 2019, even at the end of, because like the designer who made this album cover also worked with us on Woman Worldwide. And before that, actually, the first time we worked with him was in 2008 on the DVNO music video. And he knows us well. And as soon as we told him that we were thinking of making a new album, he told us, okay, let's work on the album artwork now, because otherwise it's never going to be made on time.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Cool.
And because he knows us, but also himself is like very meticulous, and he likes to take time to make things. And so we started like exploring different things. And one night we were together in a taxi with Gaspard, and we remembered those anatomical bodies that you use in like science room, where you have like the transparent body and you can see the organs through them. And we're like, okay, maybe we should do like, the good thing is that we all knew that it would be a cross, like all the other albums. And we thought, okay, let's make like a transparent cross with organs inside of it, because it translates in a very simple way the very idea of the music we've always been making, that is confronting digital things that are perfect, clean, and more organic things, confronting like just the roughness and the sleekness of things. So yeah, that's as simple as that.
Is it fair to say that that idea then extends into the video for Generator, which, have you guys all seen this video? It's amazing and intense. Tell me about just, that creation.
The Generator idea was an idea that we had for a long time. It gets back to the Paris Hilton sex tape. You know, like the night vision sex tape that she made?
I do.
And we all saw it, and there was something really disturbing about it. I mean, like seeing like the stolen sex tape of someone is disturbing to start with, but also the aesthetic of it, where like with the black eyes and everything, there was like something very creepy. And that feels very forbidden when you see something like this, more so than the, like, let's say, the Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson sex tape. That's much more like casual. No, but it's and so we kept that in mind, and we met this director, Léa Sevi. She's a young French director. I think she's like not even like 27 years old, something like this, and we started like talking to her, and we felt that because of her experience and by talking to her, that she could have like she could bring another layer with her sensitivity and everything to the idea of making a sex tape, and then by bouncing back with her, we ended up on this like final idea of having like two kind of androids that are more or less like of unidentified species or gender or anything, starting to have like this kind of very cold sex thing. And then it goes like more and more like I'm trying to find the right words. Well, I don't. It goes more something.
If you guys haven't seen it, I know you're all going to leave this room and watch based on that description.
It's 18 plus, yeah, just so you know.
Tell me, I mean, I'm curious about who you think your peers are. because I think of justice, and there's nothing that I really have, no one that I can think of to compare you to. It's like a thing among unto yourselves. Tell me if that feels true to you.
Well, to us, like I don't know if like a good definition of peers to us would be people who don't necessarily make the same music, but maybe make the music for the same purpose, which is trying to make something that that feels interesting, even though it goes against some of the basic of what would be a commercial, like a successfully commercially successful album. I'm thinking of bands like MGMT, for example, which we love,
Right. Yeah.
and which are great on the long run, and would take turns at every record. Not really. It seems like they're not caring really if actually people are gonna buy the records.
Sure.
But this is with this freedom that you can actually make good music, and their last album is a good example of that. I'm thinking also of Gesaffelstein, that's gonna release a new album at the end of the month.
Yes.
That is really, really good.
Cool.
Like this kind of people are the people that we consider like peers, and we hope the feeling is mutual. But yeah, that would be it.
Is commercial success or more commercial success something that you think about or aspire towards?
That would be great. It's not something we're against.
Sure.
Of course, it's amazing when things align and you make something with a complete integrity, and people connect with it. And there's like good example of this. Like it's rare, but it happens quite regularly. Like I think Phoenix doing Wolfgang, like in the late 2000s. Tame Impala doing Currents, Lonerism, and all the records after are very good examples of this, of people making like a very specific and pure music, and it connects with like millions of people. It's like I don't remember who said that, but a good definition of commercial success is like it's a collective hallucination. Like for some reason, at some point, there are gonna be like millions of people who all agree on the fact that this is what.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, obviously, getting Kevin onto the project is something that you're doing because it feels organic and it feels right and it feels aligned. But I mean, what does that do to you in terms of opening up doors to new fan bases as well?
We have no idea, and honestly, we were not thinking at all about that. If we were, there would be like people we could work with that would be even more efficient in terms of like breaking doors. So it's, in all honesty, something we don't think at all when we make music.
Are there people lined up to work with you? Like, how many people do you say no to?
That would be an exaggeration. There are some, I don't know if they are lining up. Oh, yeah, I can see them on the line.
But there has to be a demand for a justice collaboration among many artists throughout the last 20 years.
Yeah, there is a bit.
Yeah. Anyone significant that you said no to?
No, because they are all significant, but
it's mostly because we have a hard time like not doing everything from A to Z. So we were asked like to collaborate with some people, but our only requirement was to be able to finish the track, like to just have this kind of very last cut, and it's something that doesn't really like work in the American industry, because you have like so many people working on one track, and in everything gets a bit diluted. But you never say never. Maybe we will manage to do something.
Yeah, we still have a very romantic idea about music, about making music.
Sure.
And we start to integrate like the new ways of making things, but we are still believers that good music should be. I mean, there are like examples of like songs where you have 25 people between the brackets, and it's still a good song. Like good anecdote, like I went to my brother's place around Christmas, and he had, and okay, second time we talk about Travis Scott tonight. He had Astroworld, so I look at the vinyl was open, and I was like, oh cool, that's the lyrics of the track. So I came closer to read it, and that was the credits. the credits was like this long.
Sure.
And that's an amazing track. So there's no rules, you know, like the track is great. But as far as we're concerned, if we work with somebody on a large-scale project, we want to do it in a closed circuit.
Maintain a certain level of control and final sign-off.
It's not even about control. It's more about starting from an idea and staying faithful to this idea.
Yeah, it's mostly because like in our very tiny minds, you know, we are always like, okay, so you're a singer, we are doing music, so we should manage to do something, just the three of us. But yeah, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't.
I know you guys have said in previous interviews that you don't necessarily feel connected to modern electronic music culture. Is that still fair to say?
It's not out of distaste.
Sure.
It's more out of knowledge. It's as simple as that. Is that it's? I think it's really a full-time job to know exactly what's happening.
Sure.
In a certain genre of music. We keep our ears open. There's not a lot, but sometimes we hear new things being made, and we love it. We kind of appreciate the way it's made, the new ideas. Sometimes we're even mind blown. But yeah, it's not out of this case, it's just we don't have time to.
I guess where I'm going with that is, do you hear your influence on new music?
Not really, to be honest. Even when, like sometimes we know that artists actually say that they were very influenced by our music, and we can't really pinpoint. Unless it's a parody,
sure.
And but it's not always for the best.
Okay.
But when we are very flattered when people say they were influenced and then they do their own thing that is completely different. Like one of the first ones to have claimed that was, for example, Skrillex.
Sure. Yeah.
And but the music he makes is so different. And that's the perfect scenario when it's like this. But when I listen to his music, like there's no song where I could say, oh, that sounds like that thing we made. It's more like a general like spirit, maybe.
Right, and maybe the same ethos of staying dedicated to an idea and maintaining creative control. And
yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Do you? I mean, I know that the new album is just about to come out, but going into the future, do you see yourselves doing this together in perpetuity?
Yeah, of course, like as long as we feel that we, I mean, it's very cliche because every band will tell you that, but as long as we feel we are honestly engaged in the project and we have something to say, we will do it. That's also the reason why we take like such long gaps between albums. Is that there's like a saturation of everything, and I really hate this word, but the word content. Now we're not even talking about music or films or whatever, it's content. There's I don't know how many million of tracks are released every day. So we want to make things and release them when we feel that not even if it's good, because we're not good judges of saying if our own stuff is good, but when we feel it's at least interesting.
Sure.
Yeah, because I think it's very dangerous for art in general to have like instant feedback from people, and for us it's very important to let things rest and to be able to reflect on them, because like when you ask your potential audience, okay, like should I take off the hi-hat, or is it the right color for the album cover? It's a bit of a problem, and you just have to stick with your gut feeling. And so yeah, this is how we do it.
Instinct. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a few minutes left, 12 minutes left, and we have some audience questions. So thank you, everyone who submitted. Let's go with Brian's. Who do you think are the most interesting acts in the electronic scene right now?
Right now, today.
Today.
Gesafelstein, huh?
Yeah, like we were really in love with the new album. We met in Paris like a couple of months ago, and we played like to each other albums, and we really loved. I think it's a really great record. At the moment, we love what Alan Brax and DJ Falcon are making together.
Sure, yeah.
And we've loved their music for more than 20 years. And they've been like really constantly good, maybe sometimes releasing one single every 10 years. So
Sure.
they are like they are even less productive than us. But right now they are doing a strings of impeccable records and remixes. They're having like another climax of creativity right now. Yeah, like what else? It's not right now, but like in terms of artists that really broke through and became huge by making something new. There was like Flume, for example, is really good. Skrillex is really good. Like his track Rumble.
Yeah.
When we heard it.
Yeah.
It's like so far from anything we would ever make stylistically, but we were still loving the tune. It's an amazing, futuristic, simple. There's a lot of great things happening.
Okay, those are good ones. Let's see. Gaspard, there's one for you. Okay. What was your experience like after releasing your debut solo album, which is also an incredible project?
Yeah, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it, just because it was new. Obviously, there was a bit of not pressure, but just to make something on your own when you're part of a duo. It's always a bit frightening. But since it was different enough from the Justice Project, and it came at a time where I was a bit fed up with the pop formula. And so yeah, it was just fun to make an instrumental album and to get like some stuff out of my system, like because I was kind of obsessed with library music and movie soundtracks and stuff, and I guess it was yeah, overall great experience. and also I think it really affected the end result of what Hyperdrama is, because it just gave me like new desires and new ideas.
Sure.
So it was fun.
Sure. Cool. I like this one from Tim. Are you still learning new things about working with each other?
Yes, every day. Every day by working with each other, but also just working on music.
Sure.
It's and it's also the reason why we for example, we mixed our record like all the other ones, where it would be like 10 times more efficient in every capacity to ask a professional mixer to do it,
Sure.
a professional mixing engineer. But it's too much of a good opportunity to actually learn new things, to let it pass. So the record was actually pretty. It would have been possible to release it 1 year ago, but we took 1 extra year because we actually wanted like to finish it and mix it ourselves, and knowing that in pure like technical terms, it sounds less good than if mixing like a professional mixing engineer does it. But in every other level, it sounds better to us in terms of style, in terms of intention, because it's so personal at the end that mixing is like, I would say it's like 15%, 10, I don't know, have no idea what I'm talking about making something sound good, and it's all the rest is about making it feel emotional and to translate correctly a good emotion. So yeah, like we learned like tons of new things over the course of making a Hyperdrama.
Tim had a follow-up to his question. Do you guys ever have creative differences? Were there instances on this album where you didn't agree?
I think the only time we disagreed on this record was about bongos.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I still think I'm right. but because we are like it's like a very it's like pure democracy and justice. So if one of us vetoes an idea, then like Gaspard was against the bongos. I said, all right. I try to convince him for maybe 10 minutes, and if I see there's no way, then it gets like scrapped. I would say in most cases, I agree. In that case, every time I listen to that track, I'm still thinking we should have put the bongo. And I had recorded like the bongo part; it sounded perfect. But I knew.
Sorry, bongos.
I also knew when I was making it that he would hate it.
Sure. You were setting yourself up for disappointment. Can you tell us what track is? Now we're just going to hear the lack of bongos.
Yeah, it's not being released yet. It's called After Image.
Okay.
It's the 3rd track on the record.
Okay.
And it's ridiculous, Gaspard. Like that part is like 10 seconds. There was like 10 seconds of bongos.
That's already too much.
Yeah, maybe we will release the bongo version as an extra.
I see it coming. I see that coming. Yeah, someone's very excited. Cool. Who or what? Well, I guess we talked about this with the Gabber in the 90s, the biggest influences in Hyperdrama, but is there anything else besides?
There were a lot of influences, but like to us, it feels that it's less referencing like previous stuff, because for a woman or audio video disco, it's kind of easy to pinpoint like what were the influences, but this time around I feel it's a bit more blurred and less obvious.
Yeah, like working on this record, there was never like a time when we were thinking, oh, let's make something like this record that we love. I think at the end there's one thing that sounds like something else, but we were not doing it consciously, like a retro record. But all the rest we were really like thinking not forward, because that would be awfully pretentious, but we're really in our time, just making things without any like clear references.
Sure.
So no, there was no biggest influence on Hyperdrama.
Okay. I'm thinking of something that Pedro said, that Woman was an album for the daytime, Audio Video Disco was an album for the nighttime. When is Hyperdrama for?
COVID time, fever time.
If you got COVID, you know what to listen to. Okay. Well, let's go with a question from Anonymous. You have some of the best remixes in the game. What is the reason behind stepping away from a remix culture, basically since 2013, which was your last remix, which you won a Grammy for your remix of Electric Feel?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. No, actually, we did another remix since then. We did Frank Ocean, Dear April.
Yeah.
The reason why is it's just because we didn't want to do them anymore. It didn't excite us any longer. And there's something weird with remixes, is that it's either less good than the original song and it's useless, or it's better and then it's you have a problem.
Sure, it's awkward.
Yeah. But no, the real reason is just that we don't find it fun any longer. It can happen, and for example, when Frank asked us to do the April, we felt that there was a huge field to operate and make something not necessarily better, but different and fun. And it was a special context. But yeah, well, just not too much into that.
Has that Dear April remix gotten an official release?
On vinyl, it was like a limited project because it was going with the parties he used to make in New York, like the club parties. So it was a whole thing working together.
Sure. Okay. Teason Mackenzie, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Will there be more tour dates in the US after Coachella?
Yes.
Yes. That's good news for us. Okay.
I'm not trying to be mysterious. It's just that I don't remember the dates.
That's fair. All we need is confirmation. We're good.
It was not a teasing.
I like this question from Ariel. Regardless if it's dance music, who do you listen to on repeat at this very moment?
Alors, to answer the first part of the question, we don't listen to dance music, almost like. But the last song I've listened to on repeat was actually a dance music track, and it was the remix of Phoenix Winter Solstice by Alan Brax and Falcon.
Sure.
That's the last one that came to mind. And also a track called Hysteria from Gesaffelstein.
Oh, yeah. That album's going to be, I'm super excited to hear that new album.
Yeah.
Cool. Gaspard, anything from you? What's the last song you're obsessed with?
At the moment, I don't really listen to music. Like, it's... no, but mostly because we spent a lot of time on the record and now on the live shows, so... yeah, I just listen to birds, yeah.
And on that note, we're out of time. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Seriously,
you.
yeah,
Thank you.
Appreciate it.